football for the 1999 season, brought to you by the WOLV Sports Department. My name's Luke Forrest. Justin Angelo will be with us in the future doing the Big Ten and national scouting reports, but he lost his voice cheering too hard for the Wolverines this past weekend in Syracuse, so he won't be with us till next week. Joining us is the key member of our team for the third year, Rob Renas, the rock in the middle for the Michigan Wolverines defense. Thanks for joining us again, Rob.
Thanks for having me.
This is a different year for you because not only are you a senior returning starter, the leader of the defense front seven in a lot of ways, but even better, you were elected captain by your teammates. How did that make you feel first?
Well, it's a tremendous privilege and a great honor. You know, I've been a huge Michigan fan since I was a little kid, and it's always been my dream to come play to Michigan. And when I got the opportunity to come here 5 years ago, you know, I thought I had reached the pinnacle, but you know, being elected captain by your teammates is a tremendous honor. I don't foresee anything ever being a greater honor in my life.
How did it affect your preparation, or how does it affect your mental preparation as far as the season? Does it in any way?
No, I think, you know, the guys elected me captain for, you know, probably a number of different reasons. What I need to do is uphold that, you know, what they see in me, and just continue to go out there every day and do my best. Try and lead the team the best way that I possibly can, and if we do that, all the seniors collectively and the team collectively, we should have a great year.
Do you feel like you have to change your style as far as vocal leadership, or are you more of a lead-by-example set?
Well, I like to try and lead by example. If I think something needs to be said, then hopefully I say it and it comes out correctly. We have a lot of vocal guys in the team that do a tremendous job with leadership, but you know, I really look to the guys in the defense and to the offense as seniors to help me, you know, lead the team in the right direction.
Right. And the team has been perfectly in the right direction so far. A 3-0 start in the out-of-conference schedule. You couldn't really imagine a better start to the season.
Well, I tell you what, it's a lot better to be 3-0 than to be 1-2. You know, we played a great Notre Dame team to kick things off. They did a lot of good things. Fortunately, we pulled it off in the end. You know, Rice was a great team. They're, you know, a very formidable offensive team. They could, you know, capable of racking up a ton of yards. Our defense did a good job, and our offense put plenty of points on the board. And, you know, like we're talking about now, Syracuse is a great team. The Carrier Dome, it doesn't get much louder than that. And those fans were, I'm sure you have quite a bit to say about that. But they were pretty rowdy, and they were in the game the whole time.
Right. Going back to Notre Dame, now, truly one of the great games. But in this rivalry has had a ton of great games, but Lloyd Carr was asked, is this the best? And he said, for him, yes. And I suppose the players probably feel the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you get a chance to play a team the caliber of Notre Dame, and another school that has such great tradition and respect around the country, you can't pass that sort of thing up. And that's why you come to Michigan. That's why you go to Notre Dame, is to play in that game. You know, I'm glad we beat them, and that's something I'll hold close to my heart for the rest of my life.
Now, that came right down to the wire, and you guys were able to pull it out. They made some mistakes in clock management. The defense did a great job to hold them from scoring a possible winning touchdown. Have you gotten a chance to check out the Notre Dame games the last 2 weeks? Because first they had a similar situation against the Purdue Boilermakers, who you'll play later this season. They once again couldn't score on the last drive, and then last week they fell against the Michigan State Spartans.
Well,
what do you think? What do you think's going on in the minds of the Notre Dame players?
Well, I don't think you can take anything away from neither Notre Dame or any of the teams they've played. Now, Michigan State's a very tough team this year. Purdue, as everybody knows, led by Drew Brees, you know, is a very powerful team. So Notre Dame, they've had a couple things that didn't go their way, but you know, I think it's just a matter of time before they break out and just start ripping off wins. You know, like I said earlier, they're a great team. We're glad that we played a good game against them and came out with a victory, but you can take nothing away from them.
Now, Rice, a team that you defeated fairly easily. They gave you a tough battle, but you won 37-3. Now, last week, they ended up playing Texas, you know, one of the top teams in the Big 12 and in the country, ranked nationally. Ended up playing them close, a similar score to yours, 18-13. Now, that shows that Michigan played a better game than a lot of people thought, and a better Rice team than a lot of people thought.
Well, you know, I think we made some improvement from week 1 to week 2, and that's what you need to do if you hope to be a good football team. We knew going into the game, and we knew throughout the whole preparation for the season that Rice was going to be a great football team. You know, maybe people did underestimate them. Texas, you can take nothing away from them. They play hard, and and they're a great football team. But I think you're right in saying that. You know, I think Rice was a much better team than a lot of people
Right.
anticipated.
Now, the first trip on the road can't get much tougher than going to the Carrier Dome out in Syracuse, New York. There were plenty of Michigan fans that made the trip, myself and Justin and our producer Greg Stern included. We got to catch a lot of flack as far as wearing our Michigan shirts and hats, but how tough of a place was it really to play after you experienced that?
Well, when you leave the comforts of home and 111,000 fans, cheering for you, and you go into an atmosphere where 50,000 people are cheering for you to lose, it's quite a change. It was a late game, so people had waited all day. They were getting fired up, not all the way up until game day, but they had an extra, 8 hours from regular kickoff time to get that much more fired up. So we went in there. It was a hostile environment. Our offense did a great job communicating, getting their calls and their checks made, without causing too many penalties. Then our defense, we stuck together all the way to the end, and fortunately, fourth down came, and without a score, we pulled out a win.
Was it an unusual environment for you guys because the only other night game indoors you get to play is Minnesota usually? Was it tough to wait all the way till 8 p.m. to start?
Well, I tell you what, Syracuse is a beautiful, city. I don't know how much you guys got to see it, but looking out your hotel room window, waiting for the game, it was a pretty place. So we were kind of, it would have been nice maybe to play outside, an outdoor facility, but the wait, get to have some meetings and talk amongst ourselves, get ourselves that much more prepared, and we just stayed fired up and let it get to the boiling point, right before kickoff.
And it definitely was at a boiling point because the University of Michigan Wolverines, whenever we go somewhere, it's a huge game for the other team. The fans at Syracuse, I think Wolverines fans saw this as a big game, but they saw this as their national title game for this season. Perhaps they didn't have quite as high expectations, and I thought this was a game that mattered a lot to them. And I thought you guys did a great job of battling their intensity and the fans' intensity. And halfway through the first half, you had quieted them down to a good degree, and were able to just make it an even game. We're gonna check out the highlights in just a minute. There were also quite a few Michigan fans.
That was great. We looked into the corner of the end zone. We saw you guys cheering, and that fired us up. We were pretty excited. Got countered by the orange,
Right.
mass, but you guys did a good job keeping us up and keeping each other up, and it was a great collective win.
Does that help you sort of negate the feeling away from home, seeing all the amazing blue in the end zone?
Oh yeah, we know, and that's part of the great thing about coming to Michigan. No matter where you're playing, there's always a pocket of fans. When you have, you guys drove, 8 hours, and some people drove, halfway across the country to get to the game, and when you know you have that kind of support behind you, you can't help but go out there and play your best game, if for nothing else, for the fans.
So let's check out the first half highlights. Michigan visiting the Syracuse Orangemen in the Carrier Dome. Anthony Thomas reeled off an 11-yard run on the very first play for scrimmage, and it was looking good. Another pass to the flat to Thomas again. This one helped out by a face mask penalty. But the offense throughout the first half couldn't come through and capitalize with a touchdown. What do you think about this field goal call in the first half?
Well, I think our offense did a good job. Their defense, was a great defense. Great matchup for them. We went for the field goal. They got the block, but that meant it was more time for us to go out there and start to do what we do best.
And you surely did. Grady Brooks coming through on a blitz scared the quarterback, Troy Nunes, into falling down untouched. On that play, Michigan gets the ball back. A little reverse to David Terrell, a little razzle-dazzle thrown into the offense.
Yep.
Worked nicely.
Yep, Terrell, he's an electrifying player. He's trying to go both ways this year. He's doing a great job. And you see there he's got some big play capability.
There were some problems with false starts and offside penalties for the offense throughout the first half. That negated the drive. Syracuse gets the ball back, and this time they go deep. But James Whitley there to pick it off.
Yep, James did a great job. Our secondary did a tremendous job all day. They had some Spotwood and some other big play guys on their offensive side of the ball. We tried to give them the best amount of pressure we could, and when we did that, our defensive backs got some big plays.
So Henson comes in the game in the second quarter and right away finds Terrell big down the sideline.
Yep.
Terrell was definitely the best offensive player on the field, I thought, for most of the game.
Well, Terrell had a great game, but there's 11 guys out on the field, right. And our offensive line did a great job protecting Drew and Tommy. And when they have that much time, they're gonna find our guys, because our guys do have great big play capability.
Now here, there's a controversial play. Marcus Knight on the sideline, called out of bounds. It was a third down. We look at the replay, his foot was in bounds, but those are the type of things that can happen in a game, especially on the road.
Well, you know, the refs are human, and they try to referee the best game possible. Yeah, Marcus did a great job. He played a great game, and he's a great leader for us.
So Delverne kicks the field goal. We couldn't get the first down. 3-0, Wolverines lead. The defense comes back on the field, and this time off the hands of the fullback into Dwayne Patman's hands.
Yeah.
Another interception.
Yeah, Dwayne's doing a tremendous job. You see here, he's got great vision of the field, and he saw that tip ball, and it was like a fish jumping up for a pellet at the zoo.
Anthony Thomas ran the ball well throughout the entire game, especially in the first half. The Wolverines had 90 yards rushing in the first half. But once again, couldn't put it in the end zone, so it had to settle for a field goal. Delverne, good again, 6-0 Wolverines. Pasqualoni's like, we have to do something different, and this time they definitely did. They tried to throw deep against Todd Howard. Spotwood's one of the great receivers in the entire nation, and he caught it way down the 3-yard line. Syracuse was able to capitalize on their opportunity. Noon scrambled left and found Spotwood once again, the same combination, hooking up for the touchdown. 7-6, but the offense made a great drive here.
Yeah,
answering.
This is right before the half. Our offensive line did a great job of protecting, the quarterback. Our receivers ran great routes and blocked downfield. At the end here, you'll see Shea gets a touchdown. But that's a great collective offensive effort with the time winding down in a hostile environment.
3 consecutive big gains to Terrell, all the way down to the 22-yard line. Here's the play you talked about. A great call because Syracuse was blitzing on this play.
Yeah, they wanted to get after us. Like I said earlier, they're a great defense. And anytime you get that kind of penetration, it can be for some negative yards. But when you throw a screen pass like this, it opens up a big hole, and Aaron did a great job of following his blockers. And we got 6 out of it.
That gave the Wolverines momentum going into the half, because it was a tough break on the big play that Syracuse made. Couldn't gotten down, could have maybe started bickering a little bit, but instead the offense came right back, moved it down the field to take the lead. What was the feeling at halftime among the team? You had to feel pretty good, especially the defense, stuffing the running game and the options.
Well, we knew that they were capable of making some big plays. We knew after going into halftime, coming out for the second half, that if we continued to play the way we were playing, 11 guys with the ball, doing our job, that they would have a tough time, scoring a lot of points against us. And our offense they were driving the ball well. They just had to get some more points on the board, keep continuing driving it down to the red zone, and punch it in as much as possible. And if not, make sure you get the 3. And that was the feeling, I think, of everybody. And when we came out and just wanted to play the best second half of football that we could.
Did you feel like you guys definitely had the momentum at halftime?
Well, anytime you score right before the half, you have a certain edge of the momentum. You just want to make sure that isn't lost during the 15-minute intermission. And at kickoff for the second half, we wanted to rekindle that and add to the spark and go out big.
Now, throughout the season, Tom Brady has been starting the game at quarterback, playing the first quarter, and then Drew Henson's been playing the second quarter. In the Notre Dame game, Brady was left in the whole second half. This time, it was the opposite decision with Henson playing the entire second half. Was this a decision that was announced to the team, or was it sort of a surprise to you?
Well, the whole quarterback situation has been the same as it's been through the preseason, and I'll answer that the same way. I've been answering it for 3 months. Our coaches make their decision based on what they see and what they feel the team needs are. I think they've done a tremendous job so far. I don't think either Tommy or Drew would argue with the point that they're both great athletes, great quarterbacks, and tremendous leaders. There was a decision made by Coach Carr, and when Drew was out there for the second half, he had 11 guys in the field, or 10 other guys in the field behind him, and a whole sideline full of guys that were rooting him on, including Tommy. If it had been the other way, the situation would have been the same.
Right. Coach Carr has said repeatedly that he's happy with both of these guys, and he's ready to play them both until something happens. He obviously decided that Henson was going to started the third quarter. Now, we'll go to the second half highlights. The Syracuse Orangemen might have been down a little bit momentum-wise, but they came out really tough, fired up right away in the second half because they wanted to take some of that momentum back. here you can see another big play for the Orangemen. Todd Howard got one step behind Quentin Spotwood, and it was a perfect pass by Troy Nunes.
Well, Todd had a great game, all game long, a couple of big plays in there by Spotwood.
Right.
But you can take nothing away from Todd. You have to give a lot of credit to Spotwood because he's such a tremendous athlete.
Right. Huge play here. They tie the game with the touchdown, but miss the extra point, so that leaves the game tied instead of you guys being down one. Terrell comes right back. A great one-handed grab.
Yeah, you know, Terrell, we've been talking about him all show. You know, he's a great athlete. He's going to continue to be a great athlete, and I expect big things from him after I leave.
And now, this time Henson tried to go deep again. It was third down play. He just sort of threw it long. The interception, but it wasn't a really important play because it was basically just like a punt for the offense. He couldn't find anyone open. Now here, one of the most boneheaded plays maybe in the history of tackle football. Troy Nunes makes a great scramble right. Your defense was just amazing with the hustle. The defensive backs down covering every receiver, and all the defensive linemen chasing him around the entire field.
Like I said, you know, our secondary, our defensive backs did a great job all game holding on to the receivers and making sure that they didn't get into wide open spaces. Our defensive line did what we're taught, and that's, you know, get up off the ground when you get knocked down and continue to chase the ball carrier. Fortunately for us, he ran a little bit too far back.
Right, he ran to the end zone. That means it's safety. You can't ground the ball when you're in the end zone. So the Wolverines take the lead, 15-13. Syracuse comes right back. Here a shovel pass to James Mungro, the backup tailback. He's a young player, very exciting. The Orange fans are very excited about him. Medee Williams is in there at quarterback. They also rotated quarterbacks. We'll talk about that later. And a great play here. James Whitley on the blitz knocks the ball loose. They recover, but as a sack forced them stop the drive. They try the field goal. A bad snap. The holder tries to scramble, but Todd Howard is right there. Played a great game throughout the second half to sack the holder and prevent any type of fluke play to move the ball ahead. Now here the Wolverines drive down. Henson still in a quarterback, rolls right, gets a first down here. But they couldn't quite capitalize. A couple close passes in the end zone. Ended up Delverne kicking another field goal to give the Wolverines a 5-point lead. What was your feeling on defense at this point?
Well, we knew we were up by 5, and we knew we had to keep them out of the end zone because if they get a field goal, then I'd only give them 3, we're still up by 2. But if we gave them the touchdown, we knew that, you know, our offense would have to score again, and they've been doing a great job all day, and we didn't want to have to make them go in and produce again, so we knew we had to go out there and be as stout as possible, you know, don't break, and don't give up any of the big plays.
And the defense did a great job at the end of the game. They drove it back down. It was a little fluttering in the hearts of all the Wolverines fans there. Much like the Notre Dame game, again, the defense had to hold at the end and prevent a possible scoring drive at the end.
Yeah, our secondary did a great job covering the receivers in the end zone. Our defensive line tried to get as much pressure as possible and make them throw an errant pass. And when I tell you what, after that fourth down, when they were on the 6-yard line or whatever it was, and they didn't get that touchdown, there was a lot of jubilation and a lot of that, not only in the fans, but in the players' hearts.
Yeah, and Todd Howard, I thought it was great for him because he redeemed himself on the last play. He had been burnt deep, but he was the guy, along with James Whitley, the last 2 plays that didn't let anyone get open in the touch to stop them from getting into the end zone. A little bit of redemption for the 2 cornerbacks.
Yeah, a lot of guys, a lot of people like to look at the negative, but I tell you what, you look at that whole game from a defensive back standpoint, and those guys, the whole group together collectively did a great job all day long, and individually they all played, tremendous games.
So it wasn't pretty, but it was a victory. Sort of like survive and move on for the Wolverines so far.
Well, I thought it was pretty beautiful. Anytime you get a W, you can't be much more excited. It makes that plane ride home at 2:30 in the morning, a lot easier to handle.
Definitely. Now the defense overall, as we talked about throughout, has just played a great game. You stuffed the option throughout the game. They only had 1 or 2 plays that really even got beyond the line of scrimmage as far as the option went. Obviously 2 big plays are something that you have to expect an offense like that you'll give up a few big plays to them once in a while because Quinn Spotwood, as we know, is a great wide receiver. But other than that, the defense did a great job of stuffing the run. They ended up with 47 yards net because you had 7 different players with tackles for losses. Everybody pretty much came through, didn't they, on the defense?
Yeah, like we've been saying all season long and all the philosophy behind Michigan for the last 120 seasons is, play as a unit, play for Michigan, and good things will happen. That's what we've done for the past 3 weeks, and that's why we've got 3 wins. As long as we continue to do that, we're pretty excited about what can happen.
Now, what do you feel is the difference between, after 3 games, besides the record, but just on the defensive side of the ball, what have you been able to do differently as far as stopping the option? Because you're so much tighter stopping the run than we were sometimes last.
I think the key word is tighter. We're making plays as a defense, not as individuals. We're playing together with 11 guys getting to the ball. And when you do that, it's tough to run any kind of offense. Whenever there's a time where 10 guys are playing and one guy, makes a mistake, that's when a chance for a big play can happen. And for the most part, we've been doing a great job of eliminating that sort of thing.
Now, on the offensive side of the ball, we've been maybe the best offensive team in the country between the 20-yard lines, moving the ball crisply, executing plays. The short passing game looked really good against Syracuse, but the one downfall has been trouble capitalizing and getting into the end zone rather than kicking a field goal. Is that frustrating at all as a defensive player, or does it change the way you...
Well, our offense is putting points on the board. We're getting 3 from the field goals, and we are getting some touchdowns. And we have no doubt in our mind that our offense will start making big plays inside the 20-yard line and start putting a lot more points on the board. They're scoring enough for us to win. It's our job as a defense to hold the opponents from scoring any more points than that.
Mm-hmm. One thing the offense hasn't gotten, though, have been big plays, maybe, because there were a couple of plays to Terrell that were 20, 30 yards, but Anthony Thomas has been running the ball well up to 8 or 9 yards, but he hasn't been able to break the big one. Is that just a matter of time?
Oh, it's a matter of time. Anytime you run the ball for 9 or 10 yard gain, in my eyes, that's a big play. And anytime you pick up 20 or 30 yards, no matter how it happens, that's a big play. As far as a 50 or 60 yard touchdown, those things will come. But as long as we're making positive yards and picking up enough to move the chains, we'll continue to be a good team.
Now, did the offensive players say anything to you about maybe we owe you one, or thanks to the defense, or is that your job to do?
Well, we look at it as that's our job to do. It's their job to score points. So when they put a lot of points on the board, we're happy for the team. We thank them, and when we do a good job as a defensive team, they thank us, and we understand this is a team thing. This isn't the defense of Michigan versus the opponent, or the offense versus the opponent. It's Michigan football versus whoever's on the schedule.
Now, we do have a quote from Aaron Shea. No, we don't. I'm sorry. Well, I'll tell you what he said. He did say that he said that he was just about praising the defense, which I thought was great because he was just saying that the defense did a great job, and he did say almost like we owe you one, but as you said, it's a team game, and it's not offense and defense are not separate teams out there. Now the next opponent, the Wisconsin Badgers. Did you get a chance to look at their loss this past week at all? Shocking defeat to Cincinnati.
We've seen some cutoffs already, and we're beginning to, take a good look at Wisconsin, what they have to offer. And I tell you what, when you got a guy like Ron Dane running the ball, and a huge offensive line like Wisconsin seems to always have, you're in for a long day if you don't get 11 guys to the ball. Because Ron Dane's capable of carrying 10 on his shoulders and take that 11th one and knock him down.
So here we see some highlights of Ron Dane, coached by Barry Alvarez. The Wolverines will have to travel this coming week to Madison, and of course it begins and ends almost with Ron Dane. They do have an entire team, but everyone focuses on the big horse. Yeah,
he's a big guy. He's a defensive lineman carrying the ball.
And then Scott Kavanaugh as the quarterback hasn't done much in terms of statistics so far this year. A lot of people are questioning his big playability, but then again, the same thing was said last year about Mike Samuel early in the season, and he turned out to play a great game in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, anytime you run that sort of offense where it's designed to have the running backs do a great job, sometimes quarterback gets overlooked. But like we learned with Samuel, and a lot of teams understand through playing these guys already is that he is capable of making some big plays.
We saw Nick Davis, one of the leading kick returners, and on the defensive side, Wendell Bryant leads the team in sacks and tackles for losses. And then also, this guy's been there forever. Chris Godorsky, the linebacker, he seems like one of those guys that's like you want to call him an 8th-year senior or something like that. And then the defensive backfield is very tough for Wisconsin. Jamar Fletcher is one of the top All-American candidates at cornerback. He's only a true sophomore. There you see an interception last week against Cincinnati. But they didn't have enough of that, apparently. Cincinnati, really one of the biggest upsets in college football in many years, because Cincinnati lost last week to a Division I AA team by 20 points. So no one was giving them any shot, to go into Madison and beat the Badgers. Really shot. Does that change your preparation for them at all, or are you still looking?
Absolutely not. We look at Wisconsin as a team they were in the Rose Bowl, and that's a powerful, punishing offense with a stifling defense. You've seen these cut-ups already. These are cut-ups from this year. These aren't highlight tapes from past years. They've only had 3 games, and they've had that many big plays already on both sides of the ball. So we expect them to come out and give us, the double-barreled, game, and they're gonna do their best to pull out a win, because for them, it's the same as it is for us. This is the beginning of the Big Ten schedule, and this could indicate where you go from here.
How crucial is it to get a win at the beginning of the Big Ten schedule? I mean, this is a lot of players have said this is our Big Ten championship. But a lot of people coming into the season thought this might be the game for the Big Ten championship.
Well, when you play in the Big Ten, every game is a Big Ten championship game. Any loss could knock you out of the race. So, and especially when you got 2 teams that shared a piece of the Big Ten title last year, it's going to have big significance on what happens for the rest of the year. So it's of the utmost importance for us to have a great week of preparation, go out and play our best game possible, and if we do that, then we'll walk out of there with our heads high.
As a defensive player, what's the key to stopping Ron Dane? A lot of people have said get him before he gets started. Right?
Well, hopefully get to him before he gets the ball. With a guy that's that powerful, if you give him any kind of head start and he lowers your head on you, you better hope that you got 10 other guys, holding onto his ankles, because he's liable to put a hole through your chest. I mean, he's a big guy. Guys have called him sledgehammer, and this and that. He's like a big car back there. So we need to get as many guys as possible to the line of scrimmage, stalemate him. But it doesn't end there. He's just one weapon from a huge arsenal. So we'll have to start with a run, and then from there work our way around.
Now, the Wolverines did do a great job of holding Ron Dane down last year, the best of anyone in the season. We saw what he could do near the end of the season. He's still a Heisman Trophy candidate, regardless of this loss. Now, what do you feel like the team needs to improve on, or how are you trying to improve going into the 4th week of the season?
Well, our defense is still trying to get our chemistry down just right. We want to have another good game, continue our success of playing well collectively. If we can do that, we think good things can happen. And offensively, they just need to keep moving the ball and keep doing the things they're doing. And it's just a matter of time before they break out and have a huge game.
Well, good luck against the Wisconsin Badgers, traveling on to Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin. We'll be back next week to analyze the past week's game against Wisconsin and preview the next Big Ten opponent. Thanks a lot, Rob.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
All right.